Indonesia. A couple of points need to be made about our very important neighbour. Last financial year, our total two-way trade in goods and services with Indonesia was worth $18.35 billion. They love our wheat, beef, petroleum, aluminium and cotton. We need to remember that Indonesia is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, with estimates saying it'll be the world's fifth largest economy in 7 years. Our history with Indonesia is complex but unparalleled. Indonesia's Makassar people have been interacting with Indigenous Australians for over 300 years, decades before James Cook set foot on the East Coast. In 1949, we fought Indonesia during the Indonesia-Malaysia conflict. 50 years later, we fought Indonesia during the East Timor crisis. In 2013, the Indonesians reacted badly and rightly after it was revealed that Australia was spying on their president, his wife, and several high-ranking officials. However, both countries have now moved on, and we enjoy a shared vision of cooperation and collaboration. For example, we worked together to stop the boats during the Abbott era. We have worked together to stop human rights abuses in Afghanistan, a significant development given that Indonesia is the world's largest Muslim country. In fact, we've now become so close that Indonesia has considered sending troops to Australia so they can be trained by our experts as part of strengthening defence ties. However, in fewer than 10 months, the Indonesian people will go to the polls to elect their next president, who will, no doubt, of course, set the course of that nation and its interactions with Australia for decades to come. Well, now a curved ball has been bowled into the contest. A few weeks ago, Indonesia was stripped of hosting rights for this year's Under-20 FIFA Soccer World Cup after calls in Indonesia to ban Israel from the competition, and those calls gathered steam in the Muslim majority nation due to its support for the Palestinian cause. As a result, the country's not only lost an estimated $370 million in economic activity, but also the decision has deprived Indonesian soccer fans of a chance to see their country host its first FIFA tournament. But more importantly, it's tarnished the electability of the country's presidential frontrunner, Central Java Governor Ganjar Pranowo. And it's done nothing to help the Palestinian people. It's essentially an Indonesian exercise in virtue signalling, but FIFA reacted by stripping Indonesia of soccer hosting rights. Now, what's this mean for Australia? Well, new polling shows that support for Israel's participation was as high as 59% before FIFA's decision, and likely higher now because people are angry with the events that led to the cancellation. As a result, polling shows that support for Ganjar Pranowo, the successor to the current Indonesian President Joko Widodo, or the likely successor, his support has collapsed. Voters have now moved to the Defence Minister, Prabowo Subianto, who panders to radical Muslims, and the former Jakarta Governor, Anies Baswedan, who's a strong supporter of Australia. In fact, Baswedan says forging closer economic and military ties with Australia is one of his key priorities. Baswedan has even said Australia and Indonesia, quote, need each other as we are the closest neighbours, unquote. He has declared that, quote, balance in terms of stability in the region, unquote, including in the South China Sea, quote, is an issue we have to tackle together, unquote. So, my point in all of this, Australia has a real opportunity here. The tide is turning towards a pro-Australia Indonesian presidential candidate, the Jakarta Governor, Anies Baswedan. Anthony Albanese would be mad not to take advantage of the situation and make our closest and most important neighbour a strong, reliable ally as Beijing continues to militarise our region.